The living room smelled of balloons, cake frosting, and cheap candles. My son Daniel had just turned 8 years old, and he was buzzing with the kind of joy only kids can feel. He wore a silly paper crown from the dollar store, his cheeks flushed pink as he held out slices of cake to anyone who'd take them. "Grandma, Grandpa, I saved this piece for you," he said softly, holding out a plate toward my parents. His little hands shook slightly, but his eyes were hopeful. I froze at the table, watching. Every time he tried to please them, they found a way to crush him. But part of me had hoped, just for this one day, they'd let him be instead. My mom sneered, eyeing the cake like it was garbage. She pushed the plate back at him, her voice sharp. "Keep it, dog. Dogs eat scraps, not us." Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. The room went dead quiet. My son's smile fell instantly, his crown slipping sideways on his head. "Mom," I snapped, jumping to my feet. "He's just a child. It's his birthday." She cackled, waving her hand like I was ridiculous. "What? Someone has to tell the truth. He's a mutt like his mother. He'll never be worth anything. You think sugar on a plate makes him special?" My dad, sitting beside her, leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. His lips curled into the cruel grin I knew too well. "Stop wasting our time with the circus. Kick the boy outside if he can't sit quietly. We don't need dogs begging at our table." Daniel's lips trembled. "Grandpa," he whispered, his voice cracking. But Dad was unmoved. He stood, yanked Daniel's arm, and shoved him toward the door. My son stumbled, almost falling, his crown tumbling to the floor. Dad kicked it aside with his shoe like it was trash. "Out," he barked. "Dogs don't belong here." The laughter that followed still echoes in my ears. My mother laughed so hard she slapped her knee. Rachel, my younger sister, clapped like it was a comedy show, her phone in her hand, recording the whole thing. "This is gold," she giggled. The little mutt's birthday ruined in 10 minutes. Daniel turned to me, eyes wide and wet, his small frame shaking as he whispered, "Mommy, why?" That one word tore through me. I grabbed him, pulling him close, shielding him from their jeers. My hands shook with rage as I looked at my parents, the people who were supposed to be his grandparents. "Get out of my house," I hissed, my voice low but fierce. But they just laughed harder. My mom pointed at me. "Look at her defending her little mutt. You'll drag him down just like you dragged yourself. A dog raising a dog. Pathetic." My dad smirked, tapping Rachel's phone. "Save that video. One day when he begs for work or food, we'll remind him he was never more than this." Daniel buried his face in my chest, sobbing quietly. I rubbed his back, whispering promises I wasn't sure how to keep. But inside, something snapped. I'd lived with their cruelty my entire life. The names, the slaps, the humiliation, I swallowed it all. But watching them spit venom at my son on his birthday broke something I didn't know could break. I lifted my head slowly, locking eyes with them as their laughter faded into smirks. "You'll regret this," I said, my voice trembling not from fear, but from certainty. Mom rolled her eyes. "Empty threats from empty people." Dad smirked. "We made you. We can break you again. You and your mutt." Rachel held her phone higher, zooming in on Daniel's tear-streaked face. "Smile for the camera, doggy boy." I snatched a plate from the table and hurled it against the wall. It shattered into 100 pieces, silencing the room. Everyone stared. Even Daniel looked up at me, startled. I bent down, wiped his tears, and whispered so only he could hear. "They think they won today, but you'll see, baby. They just lit the fire that'll burn everything they love." As I held him in my arms, watching my parents smirk, I wasn't broken anymore. I was awake, and they had no idea their cruelty had just signed their own destruction. That night, long after the balloons sagged and the cake sat untouched, Daniel lay curled beside me in bed. His crown was crushed in the trash, his cheeks still streaked from tears. Every few minutes, he whimpered in his sleep, mumbling, "I'm not a dog. I'm not a dog." I stroked his hair, my chest heavy. I should have been whispering lullabies, but all I whispered was a promise. "They'll never hurt you again. I'll make them choke on every word." In the days that followed, I cut all contact. Calls from my parents went unanswered. Rachel's smug texts, "You overreacted. You're too sensitive. Get over it," were left unread. But silence wasn't enough. Silence was survival, not justice. Justice needed to be louder. I started watching them from a distance. My parents weren't invincible, no matter how much they pretended. They thrived on appearances, the perfect hosts, the respected elders, the family everyone admired. But I knew what rotted beneath: debts, secrets, lies. My mom's kingdom was her charity circle. She bragged about feeding the hungry and clothing the poor. But I remembered being a child, hungry at her table, while she sent leftovers to neighbors, just to look holy. I followed her quietly to one of her charity meetings. I watched her brag about a donation she never made, wave around receipts she printed herself. My stomach twisted, not from surprise, but from recognition. She had always been this way. So I copied those receipts, tucked them into an envelope, and mailed them anonymously to her circle. Weeks later, whisper spread. Women she once ruled over now eyed her with suspicion. Invitations slowed. Her phone, once buzzing nonstop, lay still. Dad was easier. His business had always been built on cheap shortcuts and intimidation. He underpaid his workers, pocketed extra fees, and laughed about it at dinner like it was clever. I remembered faces of men who worked for him, beaten down and angry, but too scared to speak. So I reached out quietly. I listened, and then I sent their stories, their pay stubs, and my father's threats to a journalist I knew from college. The story broke like a bomb. Local business tycoon accused of exploitation. The picture of my father's smug face on the front page made me smile for the first time since Daniel's birthday. And Rachel Golden family's pride, my parents' echo. She lived online feeding on likes and comments like oxygen. She posted a filtered life, brunches she couldn't afford, clothes bought with borrowed money pretending to be an influencer. But I knew her passwords. She used the same one for years. I didn't destroy her accounts. That would have been too merciful. Instead, I leaked her unpaid credit card statements to a gossip page she followed religiously. Her followers turned overnight. The comments shifted from queen and icon to liar and fraud. She cried online, begged for sympathy, but the internet doesn't forgive hypocrisy. The same way she once laughed at my son's tears, people now laughed at hers. Ethan, my husband, watched quietly. One night, as I sat at the table with receipts, notes, and printed screenshots scattered before me, he placed a hand on mine. "Are you sure this is the road you want?" I looked him in the eyes, the memory of Daniel's small voice echoing in my head. "I'm not a dog." "Yes," I whispered. "They called my son a dog. They'll kneel like dogs before this is over." And so I kept going. It wasn't just about exposing them. It was about timing. Each strike was precise, each humiliation public. My parents scrambled, their empire of pride collapsing brick by brick. Their friends disappeared, their money bled out. Rachel screamed at them for help, but they were drowning too. I waited, patient, silent, until the night came when I knew it was time. Time to remind them of Daniel's birthday. Time to force them into the same position they shoved my son into. Begging on the floor, stripped of dignity. The collapse came quicker than they expected. By spring, their circle of friends wouldn't take their calls. Dad's business contracts evaporated. Lawsuits stacked on his desk like unpaid bills. Mom walked into the market and heard whispers, women clutching purses tighter, smirks curling when her back turned. Rachel's online empire was rubble brands pulled out. Her friends blocked her, and she drowned in debt. I watched them drown, but I didn't pull them under yet. I waited until desperation carved lines into their faces, until pride was a memory. That's when I sent the invitation. It was simple. Come to Daniel's birthday. If you want help, you'll show up. The irony wasn't lost on me. The last time they destroyed his birthday, this time, it would destroy them. They arrived late, thinner, quieter. Dad's suit hung loose, his tie missing. Mom's jewelry was gone, her fingers bare. Rachel's eyes were red, phone clutched but cracked. They looked like ghosts of the people who once sneered at me in my own home. The living room was quiet except for Daniel's laughter as he decorated his cake with sprinkles. He looked up when they walked in, his smile fading into fear. He gripped my hand, whispering, "Do they have to be here?" I bent down. "Yes, baby, but this time you'll see." I had arranged 3 chairs in a row, a candle burning on the table in front of them. Nothing fancy, just one flame, the same kind they used to burn me with words and fire. And beside it, I placed Daniel's crushed paper crown from last year, taped back together but still bent. "Sit," I said flatly. They obeyed, shuffling like shadows. Dad tried to speak first, clearing his throat. "We didn't come here for games. You need me." I cut him off. "Funny how a year ago you didn't need me or my son. You called him a dog. You kicked him out on his birthday. You laughed when he cried. Tell me, Dad, do you remember?" His face twitched. Mom shifted uncomfortably, her voice weak. "We were joking." "It was just joking," I snapped. "You burned an 8-year-old heart with your cruelty. You made him feel like less than human. And you laughed." Daniel peeked from behind me, his small hand clinging to mine. His voice was soft but steady. "They called me a dog, Mom." Silence hung heavy. I pointed at the floor in front of them. "Kneel." Their eyes widened. "What?" Rachel whispered. "You heard me. You wanted my son on the ground, begging like a dog. Tonight you get on your knees and beg him." Dad's nostrils flared. "You can't. Can't." I leaned forward, my voice calm but cold. "I have already taken everything from you. Your money, your friends, your reputation. You think you still have pride to protect? Kneel or walk out with nothing. And this time, there will be no coming back." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Mom's legs buckled first. She sank slowly, tears streaming down her face. Rachel followed, sobbing openly, her mascara streaking down her cheeks. Dad held out longer, his jaw clenched. But finally, even he bent, his knees hitting the floor with a dull thud. They knelt. I looked at Daniel. "Go on, baby. Ask them what you want." His small voice wavered, but he stepped closer, clutching his patched-up crown. "Why did you call me a dog?" Mom broke, her voice cracking. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I was wrong. You're not a dog." Rachel's sobs echoed hers. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Dad swallowed hard, his pride bleeding out. "I'm sorry, boy. I was cruel. Forgive me." Daniel looked at me, his wide eyes searching. I nodded. "Say it louder," he whispered. And they did, 3 voices shaking, broken. "We're sorry, Daniel." I picked up the candle, blew it out slowly, and the smoke curled between us like a ghost of that day. "This is what ashes feel like," I said quietly. "You burned my son with words. You laughed at his pain. From now on, every time you kneel, you'll remember who made you crawl." I turned to Daniel, placed the taped crown back on his head, and whispered, "Happy birthday, baby," behind us. They stayed on the floor. My parents and sister, the ones who thought they could destroy us, finally reduced to the begging dogs they claimed my son was. And for the first time, my boy smiled again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.